Om. ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् रामो राजमणिः सदा विजयते रामं रमेशं भजे रामेणाभिहता निशाचरचमू रामाय तस्मै नमः रामान्नास्ति परायणं परतरं रामस्य दासोऽस्म्यहम् रामे चित्तलयः सदा भवतु मे भो राम मामुद्धर समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् Hari Om. We have been seeing the text Tattva Bodha composed by Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji. And in the last session, we had seen about Sadhana Chatushtaya. Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji is elaborating that now I will tell what is the method of conducting this inquiry. Tattva Viveka Prakara, I am going to elaborate, by which we will be able to walk on this path and reach our goal. But who is the person who is most or who is best suited to listen to this teaching? Who is the person who will benefit the most from this teaching? That person is called Adhikari. And who is that Adhikari? That elaboration is being done right now. One who is Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampanna. One thing we should remember is Sadhana Chatushtaya is a prerequisite. Goal of Vedanta is not only to get Sadhana Chatushtaya. Purpose of Vedanta is to know what is the nature of truth. And we cannot conduct that inquiry unless we have these qualifications. And what happens along the path is that our life is with less ups and downs. We are able to face situations better because these qualifications have made their way to this sadhaka. So that we should keep in mind. Sadhana Chatushtaya itself is not the end goal of Vedanta. Vedanta expects that a student who is inquiring into, who is coming to Vedanta Shastra, has these qualifications. And time and again, it is like a mirror, Sadhana Chatushtaya, beautiful portion. It is just like a mirror to show us where we are. And again, we should make an effort to look at ourselves, not somebody else. So whenever we study Sadhana Chatushtaya, my effort will be to look at myself, and I hope everybody's effort is to look at themselves. So in the last session, we had seen about Viveka, which is the first Sadhana Chatushtaya, where we said Viveka is an ability given to all of us. All jivas have Viveka to choose between one thing over the another. What is in our hand is to increase this ability and also apply it in the right place. So we are familiar with different types of viveka that we also discussed in the last class. But in Vedanta, what viveka we are referring to is called as Nitya Anitya Viveka, distinguishing between what is permanent and what is impermanent. And this also led us into thinking that impermanent thing cannot be the goal of my life. And this, a sadhaka has to sit down and quietly think for themselves. Is there anything in this creation which is nitya? Is there anything in this creation which is permanent? If you observe closely, at least this much we can conclude that everything is constantly changing. Nothing is there in my hand which I can hold on to and say that this is going to stay. So this portion, right? Tad vyatiriktam sarvam anityam. What did Bhagwan say? What is Viveka? Nitya vastu ekam brahma. Tad vyatiriktam sarvam anityam. That portion we can come to know if we just look at the world around us. Objects, situation, people. They are anitya. This much we can conclude if we are inquiring in the right way. Sitting down quietly and then just looking at the world around us. Having done that there is something called as Nitya Vastu Ekam Brahma, that portion will not directly come from our own intellection. Think about it, right? You just sit in one place and suddenly you start Vastu, and then everything that we are seeing around us is Anitya. Now being able to think in that direction. Samarthya means ability to think in this way is called as Viveka. And we should ask ourselves that what is the final goal of my life? We are doing several things in our day-to-day life. And this thought should come that a stage will come in my life where these things, whatever I'm doing, will not help me at that stage. That is what we mean by impermanence. That everything is important. Vedanta does not dismiss anything, but it says only that cannot be the goal of our life. Okay, so this also we should think with a calm mind. That is when this Viveka starts opening up. What are we doing Viveka between? What is Nitya and what is Anitya? What does that mean? Right? Everything has got a relative importance. It is good for some period of time, but not all the time. So this is called as Nitya Anitya Viveka. And Bhagwan's blessing is also in such a way that this creation, he has made it in that way, so we cannot miss it. You know, impermanence, whole creation is, you know, very nicely put in that way. Our effort is to see things clearly. And more a person has sattva guna, easier it is to do this viveka. Right? If somebody might ask, how do I get this viveka shakti? He said, increase sattva guna. How to increase sattva guna? Live a sattvic life. Being very alert about what inputs are going in and making sure they are not agitating. So with that, when sattva guna increases, ability to do viveka becomes more. Viveka about anything, not only about nitya anitya. Even if we are placed in some situation in life, at work, where we have to take decisions, that decision making ability is more when sattva guna is high. Rajoguna's nature is erroneous knowledge. ayathavat prajanati. Means whatever is there, you will perceive it in the other way. Sattva guna's knowledge is clear ability to distinguish. Okay. So Bhagwan has first defined this quality now. Nityam nitya vastu ekam brahma tad vyatiriktam sarvam anityam ayameva nitya nitya vastu vivekaha. This is called as viveka. And viveka is successful only when it leads to the next step. Just like in worldly viveka also, let us say we spent a lot of time deciding between what is good and what is not good. And we ended up doing only that which is not good. Then what does that mean? That this whole effort of doing viveka did not reach its final goal. The purpose of doing viveka was not fulfilled. So in the same way, in spiritual qualification also, viveka is helpful only when it leads to the next step called as vairagya. That we will see. But the best example for this is our Duryodhana. He says, Janami dharmam nachame pravrittihi. I know what is dharma, but I am not motivated to go in that direction. Janami adharmam nachame nivrittihi. I exactly know what I should not do, what is adharma, but I cannot withdraw from that. And then he puts the blame on Bhagwan. Kenapi devena hridisthitena yatha niyuktosmi tatha karomi. That somebody is sitting in my heart who is pushing me to do the wrong thing. So this is not the way, we should look at this quality, that once having understood what is good and what is not good, what is nitya and what is anitya, having that courage, having that ability to let go of what is anitya. Okay. So what is the next quality? That is called as vairagya. First one was viveka, and viveka blossoms into vairagya. Viragah kaha, viragah kaha, iha swarga bhogeshu ichharahityam, iha swarga bhogeshu ichharahityam, viragah kaha, iha swarga bhogeshu ichharahityam. Very short definitions are there. It's in a Q&A format, this entire text, but very precise. So vairagya, if you want to directly translate it, ability to maturely let go of things. If this ability comes, it is more long lasting and it is more with conviction that we are doing it. Having known that what is nitya and what is anitya, thinking about them maturely and then saying that anitya vastu cannot be my goal. This thought is called as vairagya. And Bhagwan defines it as iha swarga bhogeshu ichharahityam. Having understood that everything in this world is anitya, iha, and everything in other worlds, swarga, bhogeshu, ichharahityam. This is the literal meaning. We'll come to that in a minute. So let us look at the word viragaha now, vairagya. Let us just see what that word means. Every time we study a text, there should be something new to it, right? And Guruji's commentary also we should keep referring to, because all these points are based off of that. So what is detachment? What is vairagya? So that word opens up as vigata ragasya bhavaha vairagya. So now what is vigata raga? Raga means getting colored by something. Vigata raga means not getting colored by that thing. This bhava is called as vairagya. Okay, we are just looking at the word vairagya. Vigata ragasya bhavaha vairagyah. Raga means to get colored by something. Vigata raga means this ability not to get colored by that thing. Some of you must have seen how these clothes are dyed. You know, you have that color on it, and most of the times it's put in a tub. And this cloth by itself is crystal clear, it's white in color. But they have their own ways of, tying a knot and then just dipping one portion into it. And you take it out, raga happens. That thing which was not there before, after that interaction, that other thing has stayed along with this, the first thing. That is called as raga. And not having that is called viraga. Another example of that is garlic. Garlic is something, while peeling it, you come in contact with it. But what happens with that is, after you let go of that thing also, that smell lingers on. That is called as raga. After having interacted with that thing, carrying that taste along. Not doing that is called as viraga. Garlic is an example. Don't think that we should develop vairagya towards garlic or something. We are just trying to see what raga means. So now, in place of this dye and this garlic, you can put all interactions that we have, all fascinations we might have about some object, some place. So raga means that object has painted some colors in our mind. And even when that object is not there, this mind again and again keeps thinking about that object. Ability to not do that with conviction, that is called as vairagya. Okay, vigata ragasya bhavaha vairagyah. Now, what did we define vairagya in the first slide as? That after maturely thinking, letting go of something. Okay, so here also, detachment, when we say, it is not out of sourness, nor it is because we have not even gained it and we say that I'm not interested in it. Alabhe vairagya, Guruji has explained in the commentary. Because I was not able to get something, I say, oh, I am detached towards that thing. I'm dispassionate about that thing. This is not that vairagya. Growing out of things by thinking carefully about those things. And how did Bhagwan define it as? Iha swarga bhogeshu ichharahityam. Enjoyments of this world and enjoyments of other worlds. So in this world, sometimes we should take some time to sit by ourselves and analyze what could be the highest or the best thing that one can achieve. I just put an image of palatial house, one of the best cars that one can buy. Nothing wrong with both of them, We should always remember what impermanent means. Impermanent is these cannot be the goal of our life. If I have a lifespan of n number of years, how much of my time have I spent only for these things? That is what we have to think. And each of them have their own value, which we understand anyway. We don't have to be told about it. But where vairagya comes is in understanding that these alone cannot be the goal of our life. And what is the strength on which this statement is being made? Viveka. Now try to think about anityatva of these things. Anityatva means impermanence. Repeatedly, when these thoughts come in a sadhaka, then in spite of these things being there around that sadhaka doesn't feel bound by them. Raga was, if we have a lot of importance in those things, then their presence will give sorrow, their presence will also bind. But in this particular thinking, we appreciate their value, we know where they'll be helpful, but the sadhaka has understood that I also have to invest in my inner wealth, because my journey is going to continue even after this body. Yesterday we were discussing in one satsang that the only credit which will continue after this life is our punya karma. So everything else which is there, towards those things, the sadhaka feels now that they are anitya, and I cannot spend all my time only for that. What to talk about Swarga Bhoga? Sometimes I feel it is difficult to get Vairagya from Iha Bhoga rather than Swarga Bhoga, because we don't even know what is Swarga Bhoga. Swarga Bhoga means enjoyments of other worlds. Or Swamiji used to say, Indra's Mercedes is Airavata. He has a white Mercedes. So Indra's enjoyments which are there, but we get a glimpse of it in Kathopanishad. What enjoyments of other worlds look like. Means there are a lot of resources and less competition. If there are less resources and more competition, that means you have to struggle for it. But in other worlds, the enjoyment is there are more resources and there is less competition. The ability of that jiva to enjoy is more. Here, if we like something to eat, then there is a point after which no matter how much we like it, we cannot eat it. But in Swarga Loka, it is different. Ability of that jiva to enjoy bhoga is more. That's a different discussion. But sometimes that also we should think that Iha Bhoga only is so enchanting that Swarga Bhoga, we say, yes, I have Vairagya towards Swarga Bhoga. But Iha Bhoga, no, don't talk about that. So more we should think about it, but with this understanding, it is not merely making casual statements that, this Swarga Bhoga, Iha Bhoga, none of it is good. Nothing like that. Vedantin is very, very practical, but this anityatva, right, that keeps showing in everything. All bhoga vastu, whichever is there, it is like that, that blink which keeps happening in that BART when we go. The wrong side, if you enter, there is this thing with a cross, right? Don't enter here, don't enter here. So this sadhaka, if he has trained very thoroughly, then all bhogya vastu, before getting pulled by them, this blinking will happen. And this is not where I should go. This ability to think in this way is called as Vairagya. Okay, and more we should emphasize on this word, thinking carefully. Gurudev used to say, be a judge of your life. How much have you put into it and how much has come out from it? Now somebody asks, how will Vairagya come? How will detachment come? Goswamiji says very beautifully, Dharmate birati jogate jnana. Birati means Vairagya. He says Vairagya will come by staying where we are. Wherever Bhagwan has placed us, that is the best place for us to be at this time. But there is some difference in the attitude of that seeker now. Whatever is the duty of that seeker in that stage of life, doing it very well, without cutting any corners, doing it very sincerely, doing it to the best of our ability. But most importantly, bringing Bhagwan also in our life. Okay, doing our duty is one thing, but doing our duty as our offering to Bhagwan, that is another. So Bhagwan is telling, Goswamiji is telling here that if we are able to do that, Vairagya will come by itself. Means we'll be able to relate with things in the right way, and that will happen through this particular sadhana. You don't have to go anywhere, stay where we are, but now start doing things with more sincerity, with this prayer to Bhagwan that may I get some Vairagya now. Another way of increasing Vairagya in our sadhana, in ourselves, is to do continuous satsang. And more we have this craving, more we have this desire in our heart, we'll be pulled towards it. We'll end up with people who are of that same frequency. We'll end up in environments where we are reminded of this fact. All that we have to see is, am I really wanting Vairagya or not? Do I really want satsang or not? That is up to Bhagwan to provide right ambience, right circumstances. All of that he will take care of. Our prayer should be that I sincerely want this thought now. So what is satsang? There where we are reminded of our goal. Tattva Viveka, right? That is what? Tattva Bodha. That is the main Vishaya of this thing. So how to reach there? What is the purpose of life? All those things will keep getting reminded in satsang. And another thing satsang will do is dosha darshanam. Means Vairagya will come to us when we keep reflecting on limitations of these enjoyments. And it's a great stage in our sadhana if we start getting joy in reflecting on limitations. It's a great stage. And we should strive to move towards that. Right? The sadhaka feels that listening to limitations of creation makes me feel good. It makes me feel more stronger from within, because now I have found another support that I can hold on to. Vedanta will never point only defects, only limitations and leave us there. Vedanta will say, this is where we should pull ourselves back from, and this is where we should go towards. Towards Nitya Vastu, we should have Pravrutti. And from Anitya Vastu, we should have Nivrutti. So this is how, in our Shastras, it is said that detachment will come. Okay, one is by doing our duties very sincerely. With that, mind will become quieter and we'll be able to see things more clearly. And continuously doing satsang so that we keep getting reminded of our goal. You can put it other way also. That satsang where we are not reminded of our goal and we don't have reflection on limitations, then that satsang is not fully complete. Okay, we should have both of these things, reminding ourselves of our goal, Bhagwan, and also limitations of these enjoyments. Now, sometimes a question comes to us, does detachment bring fear? Because Vairagya, our Guruji says, we should be very careful while talking about Vairagya, because the first person the audience gets Vairagya to is the speaker. If you start speaking too much about detachment, Vairagya, this, that, so they say, whether we got Vairagya from other things or not is a different matter, but towards you, we have Vairagya. But we have a lot of Mahatmas, lot of saints in our tradition who have addressed a lot of things about how to maturely understand Vairagya. So the question is, does Vairagya bring fear or does it bring fearlessness? The best story to reflect upon when it comes to this question is that of Raja Bhartrhari. Many of you might have heard his story. We'll come to the shloka in a minute. But the story is, he was given a mango by one Siddha Purusha, by one great Mahatma. And that Mahatma said, "O king, if you eat this mango, you will remain young." That was his promise. So Raja Bhartrhari, he was very poetic, very skilled, very knowledgeable. And it is said he was very attached to his queen. So initially he composed a text called as Shrungara Shatakam, verses on Shrungara Rasa. He was also a very good administrator. So he composed another text called as Niti Shatakam. And after that came this phase in his life where this Sadhu Purusha, he gave him this mango. And he thought, what will I do by staying young? Because he loved his queen so much, he went and gave that mango to that queen. And this queen was in love with her charioteer. So she went and gave that mango to that charioteer. And that charioteer, somebody else, and somebody else. Like this, that mango went on passing. And it came to one person who thought that, king is the one who is taking care of all of us. So it is good that this king remains young. What is the point in keeping ourselves young? So that person takes it and gives that mango back to Raja Bhartrhari. Right when he sees that mango, he gets Vairagya. And he composes Vairagya Shatakam, 100 verses on dispassion. It's a beautiful text for a sadhaka to read. But one shloka, which is very oft quoted, is this one. He says, let us sit back and think, does detachment bring fear or does it bring fearlessness? He says, attachment brings fear. What are the things that we are attached to? He starts in the shloka, If we are attached to bhoga, enjoyments, then there is fear of roga, disease. If we are very proud, attached about our lineage and family, then there is fear of that whole kula falling down. Kule chuti bhayam, vitte nrupalat bhayam. If there is lot of wealth and if there is some adharma involved, then we are afraid of king means income tax, the treasury department, which will come after that person. Mane dainya bhayam. If somebody is very proud and they have attachment towards that pride, that I am such and such person, then there is always fear of getting insulted, belittled. Mane dainya bhayam. Bale ripu bhayam. If there is lot of pride about strength, then there is fear of enemy. Rupe jaraya bhayam. If there is pride about good looks, then there is fear of old age. Shastre vadi bhayam doesn't even spare panditas. He says, if somebody feels that, we are very good in debating about Shastra, he says there is fear of getting defeated in that conversation. Gune khalabhayam. If somebody is proud about good virtues and qualities, there is fear of losing them to bad virtues. Kaye krutantat bhayam. If somebody is having lot of attachment towards his body, then there is fear of death. Then he says, Sarvam vastu bhayanvitam. Everything in this creation is engulfed with fear, except Vairagya. Vairagyam eva abhayam. So we should reflect on this verse slowly, okay, gradually, quarter by quarter, word by word, because he is not writing it just to teach somebody. He is writing this because he has seen this in his life. That is what makes the difference. Our job is easy. We should just learn from their experience. We don't have to reinvent the wheel or do anything else. Just listen to what they want to say. But the main point was detachment brings fearlessness. Okay. Vairagyam eva abhayam. So we saw what is vairagya, vigata ragasya bhavaha, how to bring vairagya, and how to relate with vairagya in the right way. Okay, all those points we saw. So now let us see where we are in our sadhana chatushtaya. We have seen what is vairagya, viveka, we have seen what is vairagya. Now we are going to see what is shamadhi shatka sampatti. Okay, six inner wealth, sixfold inner wealth. This sampatti word is beautiful. What it means is, outer sampatti we are familiar with, right? Wealth, power, whatever it is, it has to be earned. We cannot merely know about wealth and become wealthy. We cannot merely know about power and become powerful. We'll have to put forth effort to get those things. So here also it is the same thing. For inner wealth, one aspect is to know what each of these things mean. You know, what does viveka mean? What does vairagya mean? What does shama mean? Dhamma. But the main purpose of doing that is for us to actually put forth effort to bring those qualities in our life. Every time we are faced with a situation, making sure that we use this knowledge to respond to that situation. Making sure that we change our response after having heard about these qualities. That is how they will come, right? Drop by drop. Samiti samiti jala bharahi talaba. Drop by drop, all these sadgunas, all these qualities which are there, they would accumulate in a sadhaka only when we allow them to work. Right? So that is called as Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti. And the beauty of this Sampatti is such that nobody can stop us from earning it. The only qualification is, do we want it or not? Outer wealth, we might say, oh, so many people, so much competition, this, that. Here, no competition. Anybody is, welcome to earn this. And another beauty of this wealth is it goes with us everywhere. There are very few wealth, few types of wealth which go with us everywhere. But this inner sampatti is such, once it has come, it can go with us everywhere we go. Okay. So now we will look at Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti. The first one is called as Shamaha. Okay. Shamaha kaha, Shamaha kaha, Mano nigraha, Mano nigraha, Shamah kaha, Mano nigraha. What is Shama? It is Shama is that ability. All of these are abilities. Ability to watch and quieten the mind. That is a great inner wealth. Mano nigraha. Nigraha means ability to focus our mind, leaving aside other distracting things. Just like how you have in your camera, that focus thing is there, right? Even here I see that. So many things are seen sometimes, but you don't want everything to be seen. You just want one particular thing. So that ability to watch that mind and focus on that particular thing is called as Shamaha. Gurudev has written one article called as Kitchen Vedanta. Beautiful article. I had read it long time back. I don't know where I had read it. But one of the things he mentions about all qualities, with examples that we see day in and day out. So the word shamaha, the root of that word is shanti bhavaha. So what we call as shanti, right? That word shanti is also made from this root shamaha. So meaning is the same. The essence of both these words is the same. We say if somebody is too agitated, we say shanti, shanti. Don't get too agitated right now. We'll solve it later. Means quietening the mind at the right time, turning off that heat so that it doesn't overflow. Milk we have to turn off, right? Heat at the right time so that it doesn't overflow. Now, what are the things that are boiling up? All our inner tendencies. They express as a particular thought, but if you want to just broaden it up in these categories, then they are desire, kama, anger, krodha, jealousy, arrogance, whatever those qualities are, before they start, becoming out of control, quietening them at the right time. That is called as shamaha. This example, we see it in Ramayana. Whatever happens inside our mind, it is easy to see it outside first. Then we know how to apply it inside. When Bhagwan Ramchandra ji, Sita ji and Lakshman ji have gone to forest in Chitrakoot, Bharat ji comes to know about this fact that Bhagwan has been made to go to this forest. He takes his entire army and says, we will bring Bhagwan back now. And when that army is coming, Bharat ji's army is coming, Lakshman ji, who is standing on top of that mountain, always alert, he starts saying so many things about Bharat ji. He says, power corrupts everybody, and Bharat ji is not an exception. And he gives a long description of how power has corrupted so many people, and Bharat ji is now coming with this army to attack Bhagwan. Now you see, he has just seen that army. There is nothing else that has happened, nor he has spoken to Bharat ji. Nothing is there. But in his mind, he has already started assuming so many things about some person, and that thought has led to one to another. But fortunately, he had Bhagwan by his side. And he had a lot of respect for Bhagwan. Lakshman ji, something we should learn from Lakshman ji. And when he says that, Bhagwan says this line, Sunahu lakhana bhala bharata sarisa, vidhi prapanchamaha sunana disa. He explains to Lakshman ji that there is nobody in this world who is equivalent to Bharat ji, who is dharmanishtha like Bharat ji. There is nobody in this world, and your fears are unjustified. That word from Bhagwan was sufficient to calm Lakshman ji down. And as we see, after that, Bharat ji comes, Lakshman ji realizes that what he had thought earlier was not how it turned out to be. But most important point is this ability in us to quieten our mind at the right time. Okay, that is called as shamaha. How to do that? How to bring the mind back? We have seen it in Bhagavad Gita also, many other sessions also we saw. Watching out for that psychological tornado. And the easiest way, the solution given in our Shastra is to catch it small. Again and again, we should train ourselves not to allow it to become out of control. Catching it small, that is one easy way, best way rather, to do it. Second is to reflect on limitations and repercussions of that thinking. Okay, because sometimes decisions we take because we don't think about the consequences. So this is also an ability in us to think about those consequences. And lastly, to repeatedly practice this. The sadhaka now feels joy in controlling his mind. Sadhana always has to be done cheerfully. It is not that somehow or the other we are trying to do it. And more we are able to accomplish this, we feel more confident about our own mind. We feel that we have found a new purpose to live. And that mind, as I said in the beginning of the class, this alone is not the purpose of Vedanta. This is a prerequisite for Vedanta. So that mind which is having shamaha, that mind will be able to listen to Vedanta. And it is not that this qualification we won't use somewhere else. Our daily life, everyday life, that also will benefit from this. Last point we will see and close. There is a word over here, right? Shamaha kaha mano nigraha. What does this nigraha mean? Niyamena grahanam. Okay, nigraha, that word opens up as niyamena grahanam. Means being able to direct our mind towards one particular goal. Imagine these dots which are there, right? Circles are our thoughts. And this is how at any given point of time, our mind might look. Some thought of one thing, some thought of another, third thought of something else, fourth thought of something else, all over the place. Most of the times for most people, not everybody. So I'm not generalizing it. If that is the case, then being able to bring everything in one particular direction. And that arrow should point towards our goal. Okay, for Vedanta sadhaka, it would be if I'm doing Shravanam, then other than what Shravanam we are doing, no other thought should interfere. Otherwise, there are two commentaries going on. One from the seeker, one from the speaker, and one from the seeker. So one commentary is the person who is speaking, that speaker will tell something, and you notice your own mind, that mind also is already doing another commentary. I don't agree with this, I agree with that, oh, what about that, what about this? So this is that ability of the mind to quieten those thoughts, and do niyamena grahanam. Hold on to something with a single pointed mind. All right, so Shama we saw. Next session, we will start with Damaha. That's also a beautiful topic. We'll pause here. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Okay, this is an interesting question which keeps coming to all of us as sadhakas. If we do honest introspection and realize that we might not be there yet with our Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti, can we still listen to Upanishads and Vedantic talks? Can work on purifying the mind and gaining Viveka work in parallel? What is the right way to work on both purity and knowledge together? How to avoid erroneous understanding in this case, since we might not be completely sattvic? It's a great thought to have if we sincerely feel that we don't have sufficient sattva yet. But we should be clear where we are headed. If we have this thought on one side, but we don't put forth effort in changing our lifestyle, changing our inputs, then the thought is not strong enough. And Vedanta study, we should never stop. Upanishad Shravanam also, we should never stop. What will happen is, if we listen to Upanishads without fully preparing ourselves, lot of things which are said in Upanishads will look like mere theory or just some kind of statements which are made. But we would feel that for happiness, we need to do something else. In Vedanta, if it is said, there is Ananda Swarupa Brahma. You say Ananda is not in Brahma, Ananda is an object. But if somebody has faith in Guru Shastra, then their thinking would be this. Right now, I don't see it. Right now, I don't see that there is something called as Ananda Swarupa Brahma. But I know that our teachers will not lie. I also know that Shastra will not say something randomly. So we will put forth more effort to keep tuning ourselves, to keep serving, to keep doing karma yoga, whatever is needed to increase our sadhana chatushtaya. And when that happens, gradually we start feeling that, oh, this knowledge is making more sense now. And what is the litmus test of knowledge making sense? Shoka should go from life. Okay, litmus test is not whether I'm able to remember the shloka. Litmus test is, are we able to manage through situations on the strength of knowledge? That ability will start increasing when our sadhana chatushtaya keeps increasing more and more. So that is why for a sadhaka it is said, because we have not had that kind of a background, right? Our education was not of that kind. So right now Vedanta has come in our life because of Gurudev's grace. Then we should put forth all our effort to sincerely increase sadhana chatushtaya. And as we said earlier, knowing about sadhana chatushtaya will not bring sadhana chatushtaya. Discussing about it will not bring sadhana chatushtaya. Consciously making forth or putting forth effort to change our lifestyle, to change our responses. Like this Shama, what we saw, right? Next one is called as Dhamma. That is another beautiful ability. Even if mind loses control, our interactions are not soured. You imagine what a beautiful quality it is. Now, how will we get it? That next time when we are in that situation, making sure that our personality has that conviction to hold on to that quality. So, like this, gradually, we might fail multiple times. Bhagavan says it is okay. 9th chapter, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says, as long as resolve is strong, resolve is pure, it is noble, failures don't matter. But are we headed in the right direction or not? Right? So, Vedanta Shravanam also should go on, but rather than trying to change Vedanta, we should see, do I need to change myself? Because that is another thing, with unprepared sadhaka, when they read Vedanta, they feel something is wrong with Vedanta. Right? Vedanta is not vyavaharik. You say vyavahara will get taken care of by sadhana chatushtaya, not by paramartha jnanam. So that distinction we should have, and more we should reflect on this. Okay, so I'm glad these questions are coming from sadhakas who are reflecting in that way. Is the fourfold qualification a cause for the seeker to effectively pursue spiritual knowledge, or is it a consequence of spiritual growth? It seems to be a prerequisite, but at the same time, it seems like it can be built with sadhana and by having the desire to learn this knowledge. Can you please clarify? So all these qualifications which are there, they come through sadhana only, right? So doing japa, doing puja, doing dhyanam, all of those, dhyanam, not Vedantic meditation, other types of focusing the mind, they will help bring sadhana chatushtaya. If somebody has japa as their sadhana, and that sadhana becomes siddha in their life. Siddha means what? It has started showing results. Then it is said that sadhana will protect this sadhaka. Means what? It will give shama, it will give dhamma. That mind will have more depth before responding to any situation, then it is a product of sadhanas. So our main goal is to inquire about the self. Right? That is our main goal. So all of these we will have to do sadhana and gather them. What is the evidence that there is rebirth or life after death? I think this is in context with what I said about we should think whether we are investing in our inner wealth, because we have journeys further also. So there are so many ways for us to get conviction or understand rebirth. The simplest way is look at what Bhagwan has said. If Bhagwan has said there is rebirth, then that is our main means of knowledge. Where has he said it? They said in Bhagavad Gita only he has said. So many places he has said, but one place if you want to see, he says, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu. Whoever is born must die. So what is so special? Everybody is born, we see things, perish. But next line he says, Dhruvam janma mrutasya cha. Of that person who has gone, next birth is certain. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu, dhruvam janma mrutasya cha. So that is our main pramana. In Upanishad also it is said that jiva continues after this body. There are logical ways to look at it, which we had seen in our fundamentals of Vedanta retreat. So if you want to see the logical side of it, those lectures are there on YouTube. You can revisit them. Okay. Punarjanma is also Siddhanta. Siddhanta means it is not just a statement which is made. It has been thoroughly evaluated, thoroughly discussed with opposing views, and after that, one statement is made. Okay, so those logical views, those we had covered in Fundamentals of Vedanta. Is the word shama same as kshama? No, they are different. What we meant by shama in this sadhana chatushtaya is ability to, quieten the mind at the right time. And kshama means forgiveness. Being able to forgive, that is called as kshama. Okay, so there are a lot of other questions I see here. I will note them and we can discuss it next time. Okay, Hari Om everyone. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Hari Om.